Boxing has a way of stripping away myths. When the bell rings, hype disappears and only truth remains. On a night charged with history and heavy expectation in Las Vegas, that truth was simple. Terence Crawford produced a masterclass to defeat Canelo Alvarez, claim the undisputed super middleweight championship, and redraw the sports map in real time. The result stunned much of the boxing world, triggered praise across eras, and sparked a heated debate about what comes next for one of the most accomplished champions of the modern era. Crawford walked into Allegiant Stadium 2 weight classes above his last outing, and walked out with all the belts at 168 pounds. The judges' scorecards, 116 to 112, 115 to 113, and 115 to 113, reflected a competitive fight on paper. In the ring, the performance felt more decisive. Crawford controlled the geography, dictated pace, and answered Canelo's usual formula with speed, precision, and a ring IQ that made a great fighter look unsure for long stretches. It was not a lucky night. It was an elite boxer executing an elite plan. You could hear in the way analysts reached for metaphors as the rounds unfolded. One veteran voice described Canelo having to walk through a bad neighborhood. Whenever he tried to close distance in that neighborhood, Crawford robbed him of time, balance, and answers. The Mexican icon pressed. Crawford made him pay. The fight kept offering the same equation. If Canelo wanted to win moments, he had to cut the ring, get close, and trade. Each time he tried, Crawford mugged him, taking his rhythm, taking his jab, and then taking a round. From the opening bell, the themes were visible. Round 1 was a cautious feel-out. Crawford jabbing, circling, and testing Canelo's reactions. Canelo pressing behind a high guard, looking for body in the right hand. By the second, the pattern became clearer. Crawford's southpaw jab scored cleanly. His feet were a step quicker. He mixed in straight shots to the body and counters upstairs. Canelo threw big hooks and uppercuts, but hit more air than glove. In the third, he grew more aggressive and therefore more predictable. Crawford's vision sharpened as he read entries and timing. Round by round, Crawford set traps and sprung them. He lived in that space where elite defense turns into fast offense, catching a left hook on his elbow and firing the straight left down the middle, making the straight right miss and sending his own left hand over the top, spinning off the ropes and resetting in the center before Canelo could cut him off. It wasn't just what he landed, it was what he prevented. Fighters used to Canelo's pressure often freeze. Crawford refused. By the middle rounds, the jab differential told the tale. CompuBox type numbers could become crutches, but this time the gulf matched the eye test. Crawford's lead hand wasn't merely a rangefinder. It scored and set up everything else. His southpaw stance blunted Canelo's usual patterns. Where many expected a size advantage to tilt the ring, the rhythm advantage did instead. Veteran observers pointed out something fundamental. In orthodox versus southpaw matchups, the lead foot battle dictates lanes. Crawford won that battle often enough that his straight left stayed ready, while Canelo's right hand fell short or wide. When Canelo tried to change the narrative, Crawford shut the door. There were moments. The head clash that caused concern, the brief flurries that brought the crowd to its feet. But each time Alvarez looked ready to step on the gas, Crawford broke his rhythm with a catch and counter, a spin, a tie-up, or a sting to the body that drained pacing. By round 8 and 9, the frustration was there for all to see. Canelo lunged with single shots instead of walking Crawford into combinations. His volume dipped. His timing slipped. His attacks looked easier to predict. After the final bell, respect dominated the ringside conversation. Stephen A. Smith emphasized what many had minimized in the lead-up. Crawford didn't ask for catch weights or concessions. He wanted Canelo at 168 because he wanted what Canelo had. That posture echoed the way boxing history measures greatness. You take a champion's belt to his division, not on your terms but on his, and you leave no room for caveats. Max Kellerman, who has analyzed championship nights for decades, called it historic without hedging. He noted that when smaller fighters move up to fight stocky pressure punchers, they usually have to live with uncomfortable moments. Crawford had those moments, but he won them by refusing to be bullied. He volunteered for a dogfight when exchanges demanded it, and he brought his brand brutality with him. It takes a rare kind of self-belief to go 2 divisions north and fight like the favorite. Kellerman hammered that point home. The best fighters don't ask the scale to save them. They make the fight save them. Shakur Stevenson added a perspective from inside the craft. He studied Crawford since he was a kid. Watch the habits, the discipline, the switches, the patience. For Stevenson, this performance didn't just confirm greatness. It proved a blueprint. His reaction after the fight was as much about process as result. Crawford didn't win because he was lucky or because Canelo looked old. He won because years of rigor crystallized under lights. And the decisions he made in the gym beat the decisions Canelo made in the ring. That's what the tactical breakdown showed too. The Wade concept, a technical analyst followed by hardcore fans, dismantled the age narrative immediately. Crawford is older than Canelo. If you want to explain away a loss by pointing to miles, it doesn't fit the data. Then the footage took over. Canelo never consistently took the extra step to the outside of Crawford's lead foot. He often stepped straight and rather than cutting the ring and corralled the hook that should follow. When he threw the right hand, he fell off to his own right and got out of position for follow-ups, with Crawford pivoting. The exchanges ended on Crawford's terms. Carl Froch focused on the fight's hinge. After 6 or 7, he said, Crawford decided to push forward a half step more, to impose a jab not just as a scoring punch, but as a weapon that broke Canelo's rhythm. He noted how Bud mixed in a sneaky uppercut from the southpaw stance and beat Canelo in the pocket at his own game. Froch has seen champions solve problems in dangerous ways across a long career. He left convinced that Canelo had no sustained answers, even when he tried to pick up the pace. Dan Raphael took the angle few anticipated live. Crawford did not buy the size story at all. In posture, in balance, in moments where both men planted but acted like he belonged, and then made it look normal. That's how a smaller man beats a larger champion. Not by dancing for 12 rounds, but by showing you can hold ground when you choose, and by making your opponent believe he's giving up more than he's gaining when he commits. Other fighters weighed in with their own angles. Ryan Garcia praised the catching counter sequences. The way Crawford would catch the loaded single, fire back, and then decide whether to stand or circle away. He made the counters look like rehearsed answers to familiar questions. Shakur Stevenson saluted Canelo's willingness to fight anyone at any stage. It takes courage to face fellow greats instead of protecting a record. Jake Paul, in his own way, used the result to poke at narratives about size. Weight classes exist for a reason, he wrote, but Crawford proved the reason wasn't going to save Canelo here. After a career spent outboxing hitters and outpunching boxers from lightweight to welterweight, Crawford has created a page of his resume that will stand alone no matter what comes next. Undisputed at light welterweight, undisputed at welterweight, and now undisputed at super middleweight. In the modern 4-belt era, no male boxer has accomplished that across 3 divisions. Pound-for-pound rankings will be rewritten accordingly. Many had Nalia Inoue or Oleksandr Usyk at the top. After this night, plenty will slide but above them. The debate is part of the fun, but the facts don't need help. He beat an all-time great at his weight and did it with authority. Canelo Alvarez spoke with grace and clarity when it was over. He said what great champions say when they're honest with themselves and with the public. The better man won. He acknowledged the speed, the timing, the strategy. He admitted he tried to impose pressure and couldn't sustain the attacks he wanted. He told reporters he still feels like a champion, belt or no belt, and that losses are part of the sport you must accept. He didn't mope or blame. He took the pain like a professional and reminded everyone why he remains a beloved figure. He owns his nights. That humility matters because of the conversation that followed. When a fighter is accomplished as Canelo loses in this fashion, calls for retirement are inevitable. Some legends and analysts came quickly with that argument, pointing to the toll of 60-plus fights, the body shots absorbed across eras, and the subtle signs of erosion in the late rounds. Those concerns are real. So is the point that Canelo entered as an undisputed champion and a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter, not a faded name cashing in. His resume is stacked from junior middleweight to light heavyweight. One great smaller man beating you doesn't erase any of that. It simply asks what comes next. The most affecting moment of the night, beyond the punches, came after the decision. Crawford walked over and handed Canelo the belts, then embraced him. It wasn't a stunt. it was respect. The gesture resonated because it matched the performance. A champion who was brave enough to move up and brilliant enough to win, then humble enough to honor a man who has carried the sport for a decade. That is how you unify an era, by beating the standard and then acknowledging it. Online, reactions moved at the speed they always do. Piers Morgan tweeted that he didn't need the official decision to know what he witnessed. A masterclass. Canadian and British broadcasters praised the jab, the footwork, the composure. U.S. outlets updated headlines to include phrases like Crawford dominates Canelo, 3-division undisputed, and pound for pound #1. In Mexico, commentary was more complex. Hurt pride balanced by respect for a champion who never ducked anyone and still doesn't. Some fans pushed back on the scorecards, arguing that 115 to 113 twice didn't reflect what their eyes saw. Others said numbers simply preserved the dignity of a champion who still had moments. An honest tally probably lands somewhere around 8 rounds to 4, as several respected voices suggested. What mattered most was not a point here or there, but the story the rounds told. Crawford's jab owned the geography. His counters kept Canelo cautious. His feet kept him safe. His posture kept him dangerous. The broader context came flooding into the broadcast afterglow. Allegiant Stadium was the scene, but the reverberations spread across the sport. Search terms spiked. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford full fight. Crawford versus Canelo highlights. Super middleweight undisputed. 4-belt era history. Pound for pound rankings. Crawford's southpaw jab. Crawford catch and counter. Fight scorecards. Canelo retirement debate. The conversation crossed languages and time zones because nights like this don't belong to one country. From a technical perspective, coaches will dissect this fight for years. They'll show young fighters how a southpaw jab can break a pressure-orthodox fighter's stance. They'll teach how to exit off the same side as your opponent's lead hand to erase angles. They'll drill catch-and-shoot counters on body hooks and straight rights until they become reflex. They'll replay the start round 9, when Crawford stood in the pocket, rolled shots, and fired back with that dangerous blend of calm and meanness that separates the very best. For those who favor legacy over technique, the case is straightforward. Canelo Alvarez has been the face of boxing for much of the last decade. He unified 168, took a light heavyweight title on the road, fought Golovkin 3 times, and didn't blink when difficult names were put in front of him. Terence Crawford spent years dominating smaller divisions, creating highlight finishes, and puzzling out top fighters who rarely look the same after they share a ring with him. Their intersecting lines created a night boxing rarely gets. A true super fight with stakes, skill, and a result that doesn't need qualifiers. Those nights change how we argue about greatness. In the aftermath, one theme connected the smartest takes. Eliminate the excuses. Don't cheapen Crawford's win by rebranding Canelo as old overnight. Don't cheapen Canelo's legacy by pretending he was never as good as his record says. See the fight for what it was. One man solved a problem no one else had cracked. He solved it by moving up 2 divisions into a champion's natural weight class and executing a plan without panic. And he did it in a way that will make peers study tape and then work late. Should Canelo retire? That is a different question than whether he should fight Terence Crawford again. Some will clamor for a rematch. Others will argue that the film doesn't promise a different result. If Canelo wants to continue, there are big fights at 168 and 175 that don't involve a tactician 2 divisions lighter who makes you chase shadows and pay. If he wants to take time to heal and reflect, he deserves the space. Champions earn the right to choose their exit,